Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 p.m. I will call the Tuesday, June 7th Board of Selectmen meeting to order. All three selectmen are present. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item 3 is approval of the minutes. I make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from May 17th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? They looked good to me.
We're good.
All right, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes from May 17th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion, oh, aye. And now the motion passes. Well, it would have anyways, but. I'll make a motion that we approve the special meeting minutes from May 20th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes?
No, they look good.
It was the fastest meeting
Yeah.
ever.
It was.
Okay, all in favor of approving the special meeting minutes from May 20th, 2022, say aye.
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 And I abstain, I wasn't in attendance.
Yep. All right, agenda item 4, correspondence. We had a correspondence from Mr. Charlie Obert regarding town meeting standard operating procedures. I've had a couple discussions with him about it. So you can read through the email he sent. Additionally, there was some correspondence that came in today that I wanted to note. From Thompson Together regarding an event coming up on June 25th at 4 p.m. Thompson Business Association Expo. So it's the Business Expo on June 25th. And then also we had some correspondence from Putnam EMS that I had shared with you that's on the agenda for later tonight. Any other correspondence?
The only other correspondence was forwarded to us, which was the thing with Bill Warner
Hmm,
and the election.
that's right.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. So that was a
I'm
while
having
ago.
issues with things going into my spam and I'm checking it every day, but I don't know if I got that.
We were all CC'd on it.
No, I'm sure you,
It was back before the, or just after the vote. So yeah,
I'll,
so we'll add
Oh,
that
sorry, yeah.
correspondence as well, and
Or
I can
have you
share, I'll
forward it.
share it with Dottie. So. Any other correspondence?
I don't think so.
Right, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, selectmen comments. Floor is open for selectmen comments.
Had a comment about the parade. Definitely a well done parade. A lot of work went into that. It was hot too. I don't have any other comments.
Okay,
Just we are in a moderate drought, so people be careful burning and, lighting fires. The only other thing that I've got that I've noticed, maybe Amy, you can get the state police to pop down here once in a while. It's still tractor trailers and stuff going over the
Buckley
bridges on
Hill Road.
Buckley Hill,
yeah.
because I had a tractor trailer passing me to, going by.
It's one of those things, and I'll bring it up in my selectmen comments now. I had received a message from a local resident, Logan Taylor. I don't know if that's his last name or.
Yeah.
He friended me
I
on
know who you
Facebook,
mean,
and
yeah.
Christopher Perry, very concerned about the speed that people travel. In particular, they live on 193, and their dog was actually hit by somebody who there was a car stopped and the person sped past and actually hit their dog. I believe that was the scenario. And since then, the other day, so this is within a week, somebody slammed into their wall and kept driving. So it is a concern. I did meet with 2 troopers the other day. It was on a different topic, but I knew that it was right after I had been messaged by Christopher and Logan. And I spoke with them about monitoring speeds, being more present in Thompson. At that particular day, there were 5 troopers on monitoring 13 towns. So it's a major issue that I think maybe we need to, like, as a board, maybe draft some type of letter, send it to the state. I know they're trying to recruit troopers, but they're retiring faster than they're filling the positions. So yeah, bring a trooper out here, but in the same respect, there's 13 towns that Troop D is covering. Maybe it'll be time to revisit a resident trooper. Although the resident trooper
Is a
does
regular
patrol as
trooper.
well, so.
But do you remember a couple of years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, we drafted a letter and sent it out to some of the businesses that had trucks, I think it was, or travel.
Oh, that's true.
Do you remember? We did
Yeah,
that?
I did that to I sent letters to the gravel companies. et
Gravel
cetera.
companies, was that it? But you could
Yeah.
also send one to,
I don't know if they're missing the signs because they're not.
The Buckley Hill Road in
Yeah,
particular,
they're-
right?
They're not overly big. I
I was behind, it's funny you say that, I was behind a tractor trailer truck on Buckley Hill Road, it was turning onto Rawson Ave. And
And
there's a sign right there that says no through trucks, and the tractor trailer truck kept going. But you're right, I mean, they just don't read the signs.
yeah, and GPS sends them.
Yeah.
And the only way word is gonna get out if we can get a trooper to, unfortunately, ticket a few of them to make them take notice.
Right.
I mean, obviously, we don't want we got our energy concerns, you got the fuel cost,
Mhm.
the truckers are under a lot of stress now, but, heaven, if something happens to that,
Right.
that bridge and,
Yeah.
it goes down.
Yeah,
Like I said, I don't know if, we've got those speed signs that light up at night that are solar,
we can move some there.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe something that's solar powered that's flashing all the time, just to make people aware. I don't know. I don't know the answer till we get the bridge done,
Right,
and that's off in the distance, but.
Mhm. right. Not too far, but pretty far.
And I don't see the trooper crisis resolving.
I don't either.
It takes 26 weeks to get roughly to get them through a class, and
Yeah.
pickings are slim,
and-
everything going on budgetary.
Mhm.
And, the guys are retiring. It's just one of those massive waves. There are 500 troopers under
Right,
where they should be.
yep,
So,
agreed.
I am sympathetic towards it, but, all we can do is keep reminding them that, we've got certain areas that are bad
Right,
that need to be.
and that one in particular.
Yeah.
So, any other selectmen comments? Okay, the only, I just have a few. The final review of the I think it's the final review will be this Thursday morning for the PA 490 open space ordinance. That should bring us with 3 ordinances to review. I had sent you both the ones for the illicit discharge. I've sent it twice. It's really a long file. It's like 4 pages long. Illicit discharge for the MS4 licensing for stormwater discharge. The recreation ordinance, which we agreed to reduce the board or the
Right.
commission from 7 to 5, and then of course the open space. And then we'll have to vote to move that to town meeting for approval of those ordinance changes and the new ordinance. Yes, the Memorial Day Parade was amazing. Huge praise and a huge shout out to Melinda Smith and the school. Bill Birch and his team, his maintenance team, came down and dressed up the town hall with some patriotic swag. And some of the students placed flags to line the sidewalk in front of the town hall. So it really dressed it up and really made it look respectable and respectful for the occasion that it was. In regard to a citizen comment that had been made regarding the calendar, in particular, the calendar on the website that lists out the meetings, Renee got, I think she got through the whole year. I knew she had gone through 6 months. So now when you go to July or August, you'll see all the upcoming meetings. So she was able to go. There was a reason why she hadn't. I think it was during COVID, she had gotten out of the habit because we didn't always know when the meetings were
Right.
meeting, if they were live. But she's got it all back in there again. And just a reminder, it's dog licensing month, the month of June. So license your dogs and make sure they get their rabies vaccinations. And lastly, Saturday, June 25th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Thompson Highway Department. Thompson, we are holding the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. There are pamphlets here in Town Hall, at the library, and at the Highway Garage that tells what we'll be taking that day. So it's a good way to clean out those basements, clean out those garages, and get rid of the hazardous waste that you might have in your house. Yeah, and that's all I have for today.
The only thing that just popped into my head is if anybody's out there, they have a street light, you know, in their area and it's out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna know here unless somebody calls it in. So if they see it out, we're paying for that light,
That's
even
true.
if it's out. It's so much a month. So the poll number's there. They can call it in themselves, or, you know, call it into the selectman's office and it'll get relayed to, you know, Eversource.
It's a good reminder.
Yep.
Thanks, Ken. All right. There's no other selectmen comments. We'll move on to agenda item 6, which is citizen comments. We'll start with the live audience, the live visitors today, and then we'll move to the virtual visitors. So right now, anybody here in Town Hall in the Cine room that has any comments, you can approach the mic, state your name and address, and then speak.
Rick Clark, 105 Elm Road. I want to echo what Amy said, that the calendar is vastly improved, so that's great. But I noted at the last meeting that there are minutes that are missing from certain commissions, committees. The one in particular is Board of Assessment Appeals. That still doesn't match up to all the meeting dates. So.
Okay, and just to answer, and I'll double check because I did see the meeting minutes. Some of the meetings might have been canceled because they plan for so many dates and then they don't always meet. So I'll check with Paul Hopkins, our assessor, on that and make sure those get put up. And if there's any others, please let me know so I can follow up.
Yeah, and I said at last meeting that I've been following up on Ag Commission. However, I'm having the same problem with spam that Suzanne is having, where things that are coming from the town are going to spam, and I don't even see them, even though I check spam, and then they show up days later in spam, and I have to move them, and then they move back. So,
Wow.
yeah, same problem. And then the last thing, I think, relative to the trooper shortage, and I totally appreciate it. We have had, I think, more than our share of fatalities in town in the last month. And I think that merits some attention. Thank you.
Agreed. Okay, anybody else here in Town Hall that have any comments, any citizen comments? We'll move to the virtual audience. Anybody?
Yes, Sally.
Okay, state your name and address, please.
I'll even show my face. 308 East Thompson Road. You can notice the Thompson plate behind me here. So now I've lost the photo of the Cine room. That went away.
Oh, well, we're still here.
Oh, okay, there you are. One of the things I wanted to mention in regards to the trooper coverage, this is not a recent thing. This has been going on for well over a decade, and probably more than that. I was going to recommend, I think it would be a great idea to draft a letter from the Board of Selectmen that would go to, are you there?
Yep, we're still here.
Hearing a lot of noise. A letter that would go to the state rep, the state senator, the police commissioner, and the governor. And I'd be happy to help draft something even, or take part in that or whatever, or take a look at what you write up and offer any suggestions or whatever if you'd like to have a citizen take part. And my sense is that the two recent fatalities would not have been they would have happened unless the timing was incredibly divine and we had somebody posted out on Quantic Town Farm Road when that young man likely took off from Quantic State Park. And and again, I just mentioned in terms of the resident state trooper, I think it would be a fantastic thing if they work this the way they said that they would work. It's just that, again, they'll work 8 hours during the day and they're not going to be at your disposal or call. They may be able to get some patrol time in, which would probably be a very good thing. But again, they can be called off to where there's a shortage in another town or an emergency. And again, and they'd have to pull a trooper that's already amongst the group that are working very hard. So maybe that's something in the future when they can get staffed up some more. The other thing I was going to mention is that a bit of a public service announcement. On Wednesday, June 22nd, there's going to be a speaker, and the RTC meeting will be open to anyone that wants to attend. And the speaker is going to be Jay Livernoy. He's a resident of Pomfret, and he's the area representative to the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. And he's going to give an overview of his sense of the environment regarding the critical race theory, the diversity, inclusion, equity, and justice, and the state of education in general. He's a trustee emeritus in Woodstock, on the board there. He served on their Board of Ed, he served on the Academy, and now he's the current representative to what is known as CAB, the Connecticut Association of Boards of Ed. So it ought to be a very interesting, and hopefully it'll be a time where there'll be debate and questions and whatnot. Could be lively. And then I was going to ask, oh yes, Charlie Obert's letter. Would you please read it?
It's in
the packet, but
yeah, we're past.
I mean,
I don't care.
I'll read it. I'll represent Sally. I'll represent Mr. Obert, and I will read it as soon as before citizen comments ends.
Okay, and I'm just hearkening back to that is considered something to be shared, the correspondence. And I know that when I was on the board,
Sorry, go ahead.
we had a fair amount of correspondence, and we would go through it and read it, and it helps to inform the community, and it helps to know what other citizens are saying, what's going on with other organizations, what's going on if you get correspondence from NECOG, what's going on there, and so forth. And I think it would help a lot to help people feel like they are involved and informed. So I think Charlie's letter, the police letter, and Mr. Livernoy speaking on June 22nd at the library at 6:30 on a range of things that are quite active out there now would be pretty interesting. And I'll probably hold back for the next citizens' comments, and I might have something else. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen comments. Right now, we're open to the virtual audience. Any citizen comments, just feel free to unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record. Citizen comments. Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll move on. We did receive correspondence from Charlie Obert through our mail system, through our website. He stated, and so this was just to the town hall. I've been doing some research while waiting for someone in your office to get back to me, back to set up a meeting to review, revise as needed, a standard operating procedure that will ensure that town meetings are not unfairly influenced by out-of-town visitors. It seems that Connecticut general law in 1957 set up the rules in 7-1. Any town may adopt an ordinance in the manner provided by section 7-157. So far, I've not pulled up that file, neither am I able so far to find our ordinance. So, and the discussion I had with him was about potentially developing an ordinance to have some type of protocol for meetings, town meetings, special town meetings. All right, I'm going to give one more call in town hall or virtually for citizen comments. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the Thompson Together report on the April cleanup. And we have Beth Goldsmith here who will give a report.
Hi, everyone.
Might need to come a little closer to the mic.
I'm Beth
There
Goldsmith,
you go.
988 Aquatic Town Farm Road. I am here tonight as the president of Thompson Together to give you a report on the just finished April roadside cleanup, which just celebrated its 20th anniversary this year. So that's quite an accomplishment. I'm also later in the report going to give you a few words on our newest project where we've been working on some of the cemeteries to update them, reclaim them from the underbrush. So let me begin. This year was the 20th anniversary of the April cleanup, and it was a pretty typical year for how much we collected. We have a designated dumpster at the town garage for people who may not have a dump sticker or may not want to take their trash all the way to the dump, but they can dump it there. We collected 3.4 tons of trash, 1,300 pounds of tires, 220 pounds of metal. It all goes into this dumpster. They weigh it for us. They take it to the transfer station and they put it where it ought to be. They recycle it responsibly. This year we had 125 individuals signed up, and that includes families and groups. So there were actually more than 125 people working. The big hero collectors we had this year were a husband and wife team who collected 43 30-gallon bags. And we have several other people who regularly collect 20 30-gallon bags, 20 or more. The DPW helped us out this year by picking up some large items and appliances, including 2 front ends, 2 different automobiles on Baker Road. And those went into our dumpster. As I said, we get the help from the DPW whenever we ask them to, when they're available. And we'd also like to acknowledge the help we get from Thompson Rec. They help us with the registration of people. They help us by passing out bags as the month goes on. And they also help by passing out the ice cream coupons, which are donated by Bogey's Ice Cream at the Raceway. Anybody?
Speedway.
Speedway?
Speedway.
Okay.
Speedway.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The tickets say Raceway, but anyway.
They shouldn't.
Okay, there were 250 coupons handed out this year. Not everybody takes a coupon, not everybody uses a coupon, but Bogies makes this donation every year, so we greatly appreciate it. The cemetery restoration effort that we've been busy on for 5 years. We picked 9 cemeteries that we have worked to restore, repaired headstones, reset stone walls, cleaned out brush, cut back trees. We've got a professional stonemason and a professional tree cutter who have both agreed to work for us at reduced rates. And so we're able to make our money stretch further. So we greatly appreciate their labor for us. We've made great progress on those 9 cemeteries. There's still work to do, but we still have money, so we're still working on it. To do the 2 projects that I talked about tonight, we've had the financial support of Last Green Valley for all these 20 years for the April roadside cleanup. And they've also helped us get started on the cemetery project. And I would like to give recognition to the brainstormer of these 2 projects, who's Norma O'Leary. And she likes to work under the radar and out of the limelight, but all the credit goes to her. So that's my report. Can I answer any questions? Yes, ma'am. Suzanne.
Beth, can you just give us a little overview of Thompson Together?
Yes.
How it started, when it started, and how many members, and how long you've been with Thompson Together?
I'm one of the originals, so is Norma, Renee. There are several original members. We've been going for 20 years now. We've done some pretty amazing projects over the years. People give us ideas and we run with them until they're done. And then we wait for the next good idea. We did the playground in River Mill Village with the help of the town and the state and businesses. But we've been in place. We've been a 501c3 nonprofit for 20 years. And there are a core member of 8 to 10 people, but we have as many as 200 people that we can pull in on some of these other projects. Not everybody works on everything. They work on what they're interested in. And we do Community Day, the townwide tag sale, the Maker Fair, Candidates Night every other year. And we are always looking for new ideas. So if anybody has any great ideas, reach out to us. We're in the on the town website. And we would be glad to help you with any ideas that you have. And that's all for the benefit of the town. We're all volunteers and we're all hard workers.
You've done so much that Thompson Together has that, we owe you, it's a thank you. We definitely appreciate, at least I do. And I'm sure everyone else does, everything that you guys have done over the last 20 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We started with the idea we would do things that the town couldn't do for whatever reason. We wanted to see things get done and we figured we would see what we could do to get them done.
Well, congratulations on your 20th
20
anniversary.
years,
It
isn't
goes
that
by
great?
quickly,
I
isn't it?
remember when it started. Was
Yeah.
that from the Graustein grant? Was that where
Yes,
your first funding
yes.
came from? That's what I
Mhm.
thought.
Right,
Yeah,
there's a name from the past.
I know.
And gosh, 20 bags or 43 bags makes my 7 look tiny. I thought I was doing good with 7 bags.
That's all right. Everything counts.
I know. Thank you for all that you do.
That's
Absolutely.
what I was
Our
trying to say.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you to your organization and all your volunteers that work on this every year.
Yes, thank you.
All right, on to agenda item 8. Thompson Animal Control fundraiser. I tried to get Jan in here. It's in the preliminary. It's in the preliminary state, well, not the totally preliminary stages. I just want to bring it to the board's attention that she would like to do a fundraiser in Riverside Park in conjunction. Now I think it's in conjunction with a concert that will be happening later on in the evening on August 6th.
August
And,
6th.
yeah.
I don't think.
So they're putting some ideas out for vendor space, to have a dog parade where people can parade their dogs. I think they'll have it earlier in the day because certainly we don't want dogs out in the heat of the middle of summer. But again, I thought it was important to make the board aware. Jan could not Let's see, she said, I totally forgot about the meeting. I'm sorry, I can bring you up to speed with what I know so far, but have meeting tomorrow night regarding vendors, and we'll have a better understanding of how many and what is happening. She just messaged me that. So I can give you guys a report. Is there anything that you might want me to ask Jan about it? Or you could feel free to reach out to Jan. What are your thoughts on the fundraiser? I just want to know that the board is in agreement that this is a good direction to go in.
Well, I think it's awesome, and it's for the animal control.
Correct.
It's for the
It's for the
shelter,
department,
yeah. So I think this is a great idea. Can be an annual event, and I think they've got a good group. It sounds like they're very organized and focused, and they know what direction they want to go in, and
Is it something we should make as a standing committee?
Potentially, I mean, it's grassroots
this.
at this point. It's a lot of people from the community and people that are involved in animals in general. So
And everything they raise goes into the,
would go into the dog fund.
no, that's the dog fund,
Yeah.
not the
Correct,
other fund,
right.
right,
because it's two.
it would
funds.
go in the dog fund, it wouldn't go in the budget.
Correct.
Yes,
Yes,
that floating fund.
to be used for animal services. A lot of times, I mean, I think the biggest thing is the medical expenses
Yes,
can tend to eat up the entire budget.
Well, I would have to think with costs going up and everything that all funds are gonna be, that whatever they can raise is gonna be necessary.
Mhm. Right. So,
I don't know about creating another committee, but I think this is got a pretty good start on
Yeah,
what they want to do.
I mean, my feeling would be, let's see what happens after their next meeting. And then we can at least do this as a test run year,
I don't know
and
that we
then
have to-
potentially have a more standing committee that meets, if we make it an annual thing. So, but again, it was just important that I make the board aware.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
any other thoughts on that topic? Okay, agenda item 9, the Juneteenth holiday. It's a federal holiday now. It's also recognized by the state of Connecticut. The school has adopted Juneteenth for their staff. I was sort of on the fence, but I would like the board to consider adding this to the list of holidays. We could do a memorandum of understanding for the union. It's June 19th every year. This year it would be celebrated on June 20th. If some people don't know, Juneteenth is a holiday to celebrate the emancipation of the slaves, June 19th of 1865, and some people consider it to be somewhat of a second Independence Day. But so looking for the board's thoughts.
Well, it's a federal holiday.
It's a
now.
federal and now a state holiday.
Yeah,
And usually we do follow
right,
the
federal.
federal.
So you need a motion to approve June. I'll make a motion to approve Juneteenth as a
Recognized holiday.
recognized holiday for town employees.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor of recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday for town employees, say aye. Aye. And that motion passes. We have 2 appointments tonight to consider. Dave Clark for the Recreation Committee and Angela Othier for the Ordinance Review Committee.
I read both of the applications and that, it's great to see people wanting to get involved.
Mhm.
Dave Clark for the rec, they're in dire need of assistance for their committee, their commission. And Angela Othier, read her background, dealing with bylaws and stuff, so it's in the right direction of what we do with ordinances.
Mhm.
And can give a different perspective. So I would make a motion to appoint both of those 2 individuals to the respective commission and committee.
Yeah, I will second it. But do we need to put the terms? Do we normally say
The ordinance review is indefinite and the rec commission term to expire April 15th, 2023. And did you second?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this appointment? Or these appointments, the two appointments? Dave Clark to the Recreation Commission and Angela Othier to the Ordinance Review Committee. Okay, all in favor of making these appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. All right. Agenda item 11, resignation of Eric Patterson, DPW Highway Maintainer. We received this, or I received this on May 23rd. He had given 2 weeks' notice. His final day was Friday. So he is officially no longer with us, but I'll make a motion that we accept Eric's resignation with regret.
Second.
Any discussion on this resignation?
Do we know why a long-term employee after 15 plus years decided to leave us? It's his personal, No, I get that.
right. But the only thing I know is that he said he won't have to plow snow anymore. So. Oops, Michelle, yep, this is our Human Resources Director, Michelle Jamaranara. Yep,
I did an exit interview with him. I'm sorry, I have laryngitis. I did an exit interview with him on Friday, and I will be happy to share those comments with the board.
Is she saying now or is she saying later?
No,
With the board, because that would be
it would be an employee.
right. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that.
sorry.
She lost her voice.
I guess.
Probably the pollen.
Just a little bit. The green cloud that goes by.
All right, agenda item 12, TMHS junior class request for car wash at the town hall and the use of town hall water. So I received this request from Cindy Ulat. I don't know if we've ever done this before. Has there ever been a history of it?
It says years ago.
Yeah. So looking for the board's thoughts on it. I'm open either way. And Cindy was great. She says, I understand, please don't, she said, please don't hesitate to say no, just figured we'd ask. Obviously, they're looking that the parking lot would be more visible than up by the school.
Oh, I understand what they want to do. I don't recall anything being done in quite a long time.
Mhm.
I don't either, but I don't have a problem with it personally. I think
It's for the
No.
senior class.
I mean, one of the things you'd
for a
have
good
to,
cause. It's
one of-
for,
one of the things you'd have to be careful is biodegradable soap because it gets back into the ground.
Right,
And then, some of these
Storm
storm drains and
drains.
stuff go into the river.
right. So maybe it's a matter of checking with
May have to check
inland
with,
wetlands. Marla,
yeah,
we could do it with that. We could approve it with that condition, potentially. Approval of the wetlands agent.
certainly.
and the only other thing, we gotta make sure, the water supply to our outside faucets.
Right. You mean the water that it's on or adequate?
That's hooked to the building because they gotta get it from the
Right.
building.
Right.
You have to make sure that it's flowing.
Make sure
properly.
Yeah, I
everything
mean,
works.
so far it is because Lynn's been using it for the gardens. So,
Yeah, I mean, they just wanna make sure that they
Right.
got enough supply.
true,
Just watering the flower beds is
Is one thing.
one
Mhm.
thing.
right. All right, so I'll make the motion that we approve the use of the town hall parking lot and the water for a car wash for the senior class 2023 for either August 13th, August 6th, or August 13th, pending approval from the wetlands agent.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on this?
The only thing,
Mhm.
what did we just see that is going on August 6th? Oh, possibly the ACO is having,
It could be, all
oh, that could be
that could work out really well.
very nice.
To have
Yeah.
more people in town.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that they would more than likely do it in the morning.
Yeah,
But that could definitely
Yep.
tie in with the whole.
I'll talk to
fundraiser for
Cindy
the
about
dog
that.
kennel, yeah. And then there's music at night, so that would be nice.
All right, so all in favor of approving this request for the town hall parking lot and the water supply, say aye. Aye.
Can I comment on this letter that Cindy sent? I noticed at the beginning of it, she's talking about allowing our students to learn more about town government.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see, having a liaison from the school or something, sit in on our meetings and be part of our, with the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen and any other P and Z or.
Next year during one, they're gonna be having half days every month and there'll be students assigned to come down here and work side by side with some of the offices.
Oh, good.
So,
But it would be awesome to invite them,
Yeah.
like the Board of Ed does, to attend our, give updates, attend the meeting.
Yeah.
The Board of Ed, I know at one point used to have them sit right with them.
I can
I think. it
talk
would
to
be-
Cindy and see, or talk
see
to
if there's
Melinda
any
and
that
see.
are, ambitious and.
Interested in government.
Politics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
I would encourage that.
Yep. All right, so moving on to agenda item 13. And that is the QVEC report. I reached out to John Don Francisco from QV Dispatch and asked him to provide call volume for the Putnam Thompson and the Putnam ambulance service. And the data showed that on one day for a 12-hour period, there was no crew in Putnam and Thompson, the Putnam Thompson, and additionally Putnam, and that was on May 15th through May 16th. Aside from that, John Don Francisco thought that the calls were being answered promptly. The ambulance service was doing what it's meant to do, where the majority of mutual aid was either Putnam giving mutual aid to Thompson or Thompson giving mutual aid to Putnam, with only a few cases where an outside organization had to come in and answer a call for mutual aid during the month of May. So I know Suzanne had asked for a list of staff, which was provided to us. There are 7 full-time staff members, according to Tammy Spirica.
Can I send you an email with a detailed questions, maybe that we could have a more detailed report from Putnam EMS at the next meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just listing the staff doesn't tell us if they're EMRs, EMTs, if they're, and maybe we could have copies of their schedules so that we know that there's a crew on in Putnam and in Thompson.
Right.
And can we find out if they're gonna cover the Speedway ever?
They were at the Speedway on one occasion, that is noted. John, I always call him Don. John pointed out that on May 8th, there's a miscellaneous call, and that was a Speedway standby that they were doing. I did get them in touch with, I got Tammy in touch with, oh gosh, I can't think of his name. I think his name is Scott.
Yes.
He oversees
It's
the
Scott.
race, and so they've been in connection about coverage at the Speedway. So I connected them directly. We do have a contract, a proposed contract. I didn't have the final copy, but I will forward it to both of you. Back in October, I think it was October or November, I think maybe November, we had decided as a board, not unanimously, but we had decided to move forward with negotiations with Putnam. And obviously July 1 would be the date that we'd want to make that final decision. And the contract that is in place has been reviewed by Jamie Sine, our fire marshal, Rob Wurge. The two of them have been sitting in all the meetings with me. The contract gives us, if for some reason it's not working out, it gives us the ability to walk away with 180-day notice. So that's both ways. Putnam EMS could say, this isn't working out. Thompson could say, this isn't working out, with 180 days notice. So there won't be the case where someone drops a PSAR and gives it back to the town. So, so there is that. And there's also a clause in it that after 2 years, we negotiate for a name change of the organization that would be more inclusive of, even though it's not a town of Putnam organization. And I always want to be clear with people that it is a private nonprofit that happens to be called Putnam EMS. But there is that in the contract as well as giving board representation, equal board representation for both the town of Putnam and the town of Thompson within the board structure.
Is there anything in the contract that states that if we feel that we are not getting adequate service, that even though it's 180 days, that we can supplement the service with another service? If we feel that the staff is that they're not, I mean, we have an obligation to cover and do what's in the best interest of the taxpayers here in town. And if we're not getting coverage, we have to figure out how to make that happen. So what I'm saying is maybe there should be something in there that says we can supplement it or do something. I understand they want 180-day notice, but.
Well, we want the 180-day notice. That was the biggest thing. We never want to be put in the situation where we're just handed the PSAR and told, okay, we'll handle it yourself and be without an ambulance completely. That's what the 180 days
And I get
protects
what you're
us more
saying,
than
but
anything.
if we're without an ambulance, we're without an ambulance. If there's no, if they're not able to provide.
Well, that there is that section of the contract that talks about not providing and the
maybe if I
ramifications.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you send it out.
Yeah, agree, you get that contract so we can look at it again. I mean, we're down to a
And
few short weeks.
Exactly.
It was drafted,
I
and just to let you know, it was drafted, it's just in the final stages, it was drafted by both Rich Roberts with Ken Slater. So our town attorney and Rich, technically, they're from the same law firm, but he represents Putnam, town of Putnam, that is.
Does it say
So-
how many trucks they're gonna be running or staffing?
There will be one in Thompson full-time, one in Putnam full-time, and they're working on the peak crew. And that's all in the contract as well. And the peak crew, the hours will be determined based on call data over time. But initially there'll be a set time and that peak crew will be on and stationed most likely in Putnam because they have more calls than we do.
Not
So-
according to the call log.
No, that you're misinterpreting it. That call log was when Thompson, when it was for Putnam, that was when Thompson responded to Putnam for mutual aid. There is no data from Putnam in this. I thought the same thing you did. That's why I say
Okay,
it.
so
Because I
we-
was surprised. I was like, why? I said to John
But they
Don
were all
Francisco.
different calls. I don't quite understand how that could have been, because I merged them to see. And maybe that's something we can talk about at another
And
time.
John said at QV Dispatch, you can call him directly. So the email that I forwarded to you has his contact information. You could
Okay.
certainly call him and talk to him about the reports.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Did I send you? I thought I forwarded you his email
When?
that had all this data in it.
Because I haven't seen this.
No, I. haven't
Oh,
seen it
that
yet.
was, you didn't see the
I
debt
just
call
saw
data?
this as a
You
fact.
saw
I
the
got
call-
this. Yeah, you got the
Yeah.
spreadsheet, so. right?
You didn't get the list of staff, but you should have gotten from John.
No, I didn't get it. The first time I've seen it is tonight. is this.
Anything, the call, okay,
Yeah.
Oh, because that came actually
I
like
did-
yesterday, day before.
Yeah, and I downloaded everything.
I
up
didn't
to-
get this until yesterday from John Don Francisco, so, and I forwarded it. Maybe look in your spam. It seems to be a running problem. Maybe
They
it's
must
something,
have done something different out there with, because everything's going to my spam and I couldn't
Is it
understand.
only from the town of Thompson?
No, it was,
Okay.
same with you
Just making
too.
sure.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't see this. My only comment with this is there something that John Don can do when there is no crew for Thompson to notify us? So that way.
I've already asked that the administrator notify me in advance when there is no coverage. And so far, I haven't gotten a call.
No, but I'm saying if we can
Except
be
for-
notified, because we are responsible,
Right,
the chiefs would definitely need to, it would give them, heads up that there is no
Mhm.
crew
Right.
coming, that it will be mutual aid,
on the,
from one of
on,
the surrounding towns.
when it occurred on May 15th, I actually, and that's when I followed up with the administrator at Putnam EMS, I had received a call from Chief Brower because it's in his station and he knew, and he alerted me to it, to which I called immediately the administrator and I contacted the board chair, which is Ed Higgins from Putnam.
If there's only one truck on, can you also be notified? Because if there's
Well, if
only
there's
one truck.
one
on,
truck, it means there's not a crew someplace.
That's
Because
what
there
I'm
would be two,
saying.
right, exactly, and that's what I think Ken is asking.
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean, Putnam
notified.
could have a crew,
Right,
but the Thompson crew.
but we
may not
need to
be.
know,
But
and that's what we
Thompson
need to
could have
know.
a truck on or a crew on and they're.
We
going
need to be
Putnam.
notified,
So if
It
they're
could
not
work
fulfilling
vice
that-
versa.
right. So you're asking me for them to notify me when
When they
both
cannot stay
Putnam
fully
and
staffed,
Thompson, when,
Fully staffed.
just when they're not fully staffed? Okay,
For
for a second,
overnights?
I thought you were saying that you wanted to be notified when Thompson is giving mutual aid to Putnam, because that would be,
I mean.
Yes,
so when there's two crews on,
well, there's still, if there's two full crews on, then they're fully staffed.
right,
But if there's only one crew on in Putnam or one crew on in Thompson,
and
they're
what,
still not fully
but I
staffed.
think you're not clear. When I said that Thompson was giving mutual aid to Putnam, it was because Putnam was on another call. In every single instance, Putnam was out on a call and Thompson backed them up. That is, that
That
has
has been
been-
fully staffed. That's not what I'm saying.
right,
I'm saying if one department doesn't have staff and the other department
Right.
does, they're still short staffed.
exactly,
That's-
exactly.
okay,
No, that's what I've asked to be notified on.
Is when there is no crew. I mean,
Exactly,
you take
One-
the
one-
accident in Aquatic as prime
Well-
example, you had Thompson crew, Putnam crew, and then you had mutual aid coming
You
in.
had Woodstock,
You
you
know,
had KV, you
Right,
had
Right.
and
Webster.
they're gonna be helping each other
But that's
out.
different. That's not what I'm
It's
saying.
when
I'm saying on a
Thompson
regular,
doesn't have a crew period assigned that
or
night,
Putnam doesn't.
we have a
crew.
problem. Putnam doesn't, we have a problem,
right.
because they've
Right.
gotta keep crews on
Exactly.
both towns.
But ideally, the whole point of moving forward with Putnam EMS was that it's the neighboring town, number one. And we will build the service. We're currently, we're sending out postcards to various people who have just received their EMT licenses. We're targeting Rhode Island, we're targeting the whole 395 corridor. We're incentivizing with good pay and good benefits. The benefits are going to most likely come from the town of Thompson. And so Putnam EMS will be reimbursing the town for their health insurance. So if you provide good benefits, if you provide a good pay, we can attract talent, we can attract certified EMTs. I just, and the ideal situation is Putnam's out on a call, Thompson covers. Thompson's out on a call and they get a second call, Putnam covers us. That's always been the goal. That's always been what made this seem like it was going to work. And it's just a matter of staffing. And Don Francisco, he's from QV Dispatch, he has 40 years in ambulance dispatch. And he said it's an ongoing issue throughout the state. It's not even just the northeast corner. It's throughout the state. It's statewide, it's nationwide. But hopefully if we can incentivize, we can attract.
Do you know what their plan is to train?
They
Their
said
own
that,
EMTs?
I was told they have trainings every single.
No, I mean
month.
to train and certify EMTs. In order for them to be able to
I know we had the discussion. I'm not an expert, but I'm sure you could certainly reach out to Tammy and ask her those specific questions. She's very approachable. So I just don't, I know we discussed it during the contract negotiations in depth, but I'm just not versed in
because that
everything
was
they
my
do.
biggest concern is that there's no plan, because I know there's a shortage of EMTs
Right.
and EMRs.
And what
and-
we're trying to do is basically recruit. Right now, we're recruit, retention,
They're
training.
just not out there.
No, they're not, but it's not just. It's not just northeast
it's the
corner.
industry as
It's
a
the
whole.
industry, but that's why we're approaching it from, we're gonna pay more, we're gonna give benefits, we're gonna make it a professional service and try and attract talent that way. So,
That was part of the discussions.
yeah. So, All right, moving on. Any other thoughts on that? But really, really feel free to reach out to Don Francisco. I'll try to send you that email again. Maybe I think you have a charter account too. Do you want me to send it to that or no?
Yeah, I've got my charter account as
Okay.
well, my personal.
All right, I'll send it to both again.
Yeah, like I said, I did not see this.
Okay. All right. Report from the Director of Planning and Development, Tara Penn Gesick.
Hello there. How are you?
Hey Tara, how are you?
Doing okay. So I guess for the sake of the recording, I'll just run quickly through the memo I gave to you guys. Please feel free to stop, ask questions. There are some updates to a few of those items, even since I wrote this late last week. So we'll just go down in order. So the first set of updates are on grants or grant-like things that are out there, and then my work that touches with various town committees. So in terms of the ARPA funds, as I indicate here, all notifications for grants in which we leveraged ARPA funds have been received. CT Deep, of course, we got ages and ages ago. We knew that was successful. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in both the AARP and the DECD Connecticut Community Challenge grants. So what that means is, according to the vote that you guys took back in September, maybe, the $330,000 that had previously been called contingent funds revert to that status of being contingent. Amy and I have spoken, and I believe the general intent is to hold those for any overages on the salt shed / future EMS facility, which I think is mostly wise. The one exception I have suggested for that is that there was a minuscule amount of that had been leveraged into the AARP grant to renovate the basketball court and also double purpose it as a pickleball court in Riverside Park. And I would generally recommend that we continue with that. I note that down a little bit further in the memo as well. And Brian Levensey is also in on the call. I asked him to come in and give his thoughts on that. But let's run through the memo first, and then we can go back and discuss. The Congressional Appropriations Award for the Small Business Center at 65 Main, the renovation of the building. As I indicate here, the Small Business Association, which is the federal agency actually administering that federal award, had some paperwork that needed to be completed. That was completed ahead of their deadline. So now I just have to get a confirmation that they've processed it. Once it is processed, I'm told by my contact at SBA, he believes that those funds get released within 90 days. So to be conservative, I would say that we would see that that funding flow into our accounts before the end of the calendar year. That seems safe. So that is that. We had an excellent visit with Senator Blumenthal at the building last week. He came and met with me and Amy and Anne from Teague and a bunch of folks from EDC and MISRAC just to talk about what the future plans are. So it was nice to see the support from our senator. The AARP Community Challenge Grant, as I indicated, was unsuccessful. The program was highly competitive. I found out that there were over 3,000 applicants. So I no longer feel as badly that our very high quality application was turned down. But again, I think that project in general is a worthy one. It's a simple one and something that could have a real value for the community as a recreational asset and an upgrade to the existing equipment in the park. The CT Deep Recreational Trails Grant for Trainwreck Park. Still don't have the final paperwork from the state. I did have a con call with them. They had some questions about the tiny piece to be acquired from the Butlers eventually for the site of the turntable. Clarified that for them, and I would expect I'll see that paperwork soon, but we can't start any work on any phase of it until that is signed, because the deep funds are for the site plan development and the legal and acquisition fees. So it's all the stuff that's the upfront stuff, and then the ARPA funds will flow into the implementation. The DECD Brownfield Remediation Grant, which is a partnership between the town and the developer of the River Mill. We had some incremental progress on that. Again, still not signed with the state. We've been waiting on 3 essentially documents to be completed and signed. One of them is something having to do with the prevailing wage requirements. There's some vagueness in what the Department of Labor has communicated with us. I had a little bit of motion on that today, in that I was at a networking thing where State Senator Flexer happened to be as well. She and her assistant are going to try to help to mediate with the Department of Labor so we can get the final amount of clarity we need on those prevailing wage requirements before anything is signed there. A second piece is the pass-through agreement from the town to the developer. I did finally get a draft back late last week from our attorney. The developer's attorney is now looking at that, and once we are agreed on that draft, that will go to DECD for their approval. And then the third piece is the current owner of the mill, which is Andy Scott, needs to sign a negative pledge agreement. Sort of complicated what that actually is, but essentially saying that, you know, they still have responsibility for the cleanup if the deal goes sour for any reason, which legally they do anyway. So it's a little bit of a hurdle to get him to sign, but shouldn't be too much longer on any of that. And then once we can execute that, we can, the developer can go ahead with the hazardous materials remediation and abatement in the River Mill, which will be very exciting. The FEMA brick grant, I do have an update. I reached out to my contact at DEMHS. They are the intermediary between the local municipalities and FEMA. And we were able to find out that we were not advanced to the next round on the Langer Pond Dam project scoping. And my contact at DEMHS is going to try to find the feedback sheets. I have to say, I'm not too surprised at that. We submitted this last year and were also turned down. I resubmitted on the advice of DEMHS because he said they had so much more money, but there were no substantive changes in that application. So, you know, that was just to throw it against the wall and see if we could get a little money, and it looks unsuccessful. Lot SIP Riverside Drive sidewalk replacement. This is very exciting. Memorial Day week, we had notice finally that CT DOT was preparing the approval to award the contract. You guys have already voted to award the contract, but because there was a single bidder, CTDOT required us to make some inquiries to find out why there was only a single bidder. Our contract administrators' investigations found out exactly what we suspected. Because it was approved to advertise so late in the season, local firms had largely set their calendars and didn't have any extra manpower to devote to bidding a new project. So they accepted that, and we should see, well, we have seen the letter. It'll be formally issued soon, but we've been given permission to prepare the contracts and the notices, and we should have all that ready to go for Friday, when we have a pre-construction meeting with the contract administrator and the contractor as a part of the MISRAC meeting. So that is very exciting. And then as I understand it, once CTDOT has formally issued that, the 1.8 million base funds for that award should be released to the town as a lump sum upfront within 5 to 7 days. So that should all start happening presently. The Middle Mile Broadband Grant, the notice of funding opportunity has been published. The application due date is the 30th of September. The somewhat concerning piece for me is I've got some radio silence from the partners I was working on to develop a potential proposal under that. I will reach out to them again, but I reached out last week to try to get an update before this meeting, and I do not have that update. So I'm still optimistic that we can get something competent submitted for a municipal broadband loop before that deadline of 30th September, but I don't have any meaningful updates there. The CSDE Summer Enrichment Grant, which was a partnership grant between Thompson Rec, my office, and TLGV for the expansion of summer trail camp. We were not successful in that. However, TLGV did get an additional grant. We've got a meeting tomorrow to discuss all the funding sources. My expectation is that the expansion of trail camp will be able to reduce the participation fees for Thompson households to $75 a week, which would bring it in line with last year, which was one of the goals. So that's pretty exciting. Scaling up. Last year, you'll remember we ran that pilot with TLGV. We served, I think it was a total of 16 kids over 2 weeks. And this year, we are expanding, also including Coventry in that partnership. So between the two municipalities, the expansion would be for 4 weeks running out of each town with a maximum enrollment, again, between the two towns of 120 kids. So it's a huge expansion of a camp program for an age demographic, which is always underserved, which is middle schoolers. So that's pretty cool. TLGV Youth Engagement Grant, we have a little $3,000 request out to TLGV to fund Litter League. I was told last night at the Trails Committee meeting that we should hear notification on that sometime this week, and then we will know how we are going to proceed, if we're going to put a fast pilot program together for this year, or if we're going to push off to next year. So there's that. USDA Rural Development Emergency Healthcare Grant. We were informed that USDA Rural Development had an extra $1 million floating around that they were really trying to get out to the towns. The challenge was, there were a couple of challenges. It was kind of a tight turn. And the specific parameters of the grant, if you read it, are kind of narrow. They are for public health responses similar to pandemic response. However, because they had surplus funds, they were willing to entertain an oval peg and a round hole, anything that kind of had a general public health tie-in. Initially, we tried to get all 5 chiefs to send me some information about what they might need for SCBA packs. I didn't get that information from anybody except Chief Grauer. But in talking to Chief Grauer, he actually had a better project just applicable to Thompson Fire Engine Company. We're about 80% on that application, but we've hit kind of an impasse in that because it is a construction project, he needs an architectural or engineering assessment to accompany that. I think we're going to have trouble hitting the June 30th deadline for this $1 million surplus. However, there are 2 other possibilities. One is the surplus funds that are left after that period will get pooled, and then they will consider applications from all over the country, not just in the regions. And then the third possibility, which I actually think has more legs, is that once the regular community facilities grants for the rural development program open up in, I think, the fall, we would have an application 80% completed if we can do the legwork to get that architectural or engineering assessment done between now and then. Then we have a complete thing that can go through, and I think it has a very high chance of funding. So some challenges there, but also I think some good opportunities for the department. And then the last thing, and this isn't on here because I didn't find out about this opportunity until late last week, USDA has another program that is open with something like $14 million in funding available. It is the Urban Agriculture and Innovation Programs grant, competitive grant program. They have a planning stream. There is no match requirement. So this is like a unicorn in the world of grants. And it seems to be a perfect fit for the programming aspect of the 65 Main project. We have had on the back burner a partnership of 6 nonprofits, local, regional, and other land use professionals sort of poised to develop that programming since it was first ideated. And what we had cobbled together at that time was in-kind match. This grant program gives us the opportunity to not even worry about the match, to just cover those costs associated with the participation from those nonprofits, and really have those 2 things going simultaneously, right? The renovation construction of the building, and then the programming discussion going on simultaneously, so that when the one is finished, the second can just flow in. So that was actually, the timing couldn't have been better. So that is the grants update. And again, I'll just try to fly through the work that I'm doing with the various commissions. Agriculture Commission has their June meeting scheduled for the last Wednesday of this month. At the March meeting, we had started discussing some gaps in the section on livestock, primarily that were identified by Vern Butler. When I had first passed that set of regulations up in the original update process, I had asked for feedback from Ag and didn't get any. And then sort of a year and a half later, Vern emailed me and said, hey, have you considered this? Essentially, they do something called custom slaughter. It's not covered in most standard guidebooks on livestock regulations. So we're going to work up some recommended language to pass back up to P&Z for their annual update. Economic Development Commission is still working on bringing the 11th Village project online with the new angle of having a student-run used bookstore in at least one of the sheds as sort of a 3-season concern. And that would be a way to develop a project for the transitional students, which I guess has been a challenge for the school. Melinda and Katie Butler and I have talked about that. Mike Joyce has been providing additional labor, and we hope to have that all planned out and in line to have a soft launch at the beginning of the school year, and then a hard launch for Community Day. The second EDC piece, they will, however we end up working the programming aspect of the 65 Main project, they will have an active role in that, and we have to sort of discuss what exactly that role will be, but they are sort of the natural municipal commission to lead that process. MISRAC, which is the Mill Sites Redevelopment Advisory Commission, very, very busy. They're going to be highly active in the sidewalk renovation, particularly in the absence of a DPW director. Tying into that is going to be consulting with the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District, who who has a grant themselves. The town doesn't have it. They have it to do work in the town with low impact development. When the Blaine Road bump out, teeing off that intersection is finally completed, ECCD will come in and sort of do some native landscaping and low impact drainage work in that area. The committee is also going to start working actively with the Eastern Connecticut Land Bank to develop some concept plans for the redevelopment of the Belding Corticelli site. There's been renewed interest in that parcel. We actually have a couple of legit developers who have made some serious inquiries. So the time is really excellent to really try to work actively to bring that property back online, with the sidewalks being renovated, giving a facelift to that main travel corridor, the eventual work with the river mill. It just seems like everything's happening all at once. Ordinance Review Committee, Amy mentioned earlier that there will be a third and hopefully final, I believe, final meeting to finalize language for a PA 490 ordinance to pass up to you folks for approval so that it can get to a town meeting vote in time to allow residents access to that program legally as of the September 1st opening for enrollment. Planning and Zoning Commission, the big project has been the subdivision regulations. We've hit a little bit of a frustrating impasse, which is the second draft is fundamentally complete except for the appendices. However, the appendices contain the road construction and design standards. The current draft is modeled on the existing subdivision regulations, which after a couple of passes through, everybody has kind of said, these are a mess, we don't like them, we want them reformatted. I would agree with that, but what they're also requesting is a neutral, quote unquote, engineer to consult, meaning an engineer who would never be in a position to bid on jobs in the town and therefore would have no conflict of interest. That pretty much narrows our field, since we don't have a town engineer to NECOG, and I have not been able to get a response from them to sit down with me and go over that. So I am working on that. Otherwise, we are very close to having a second complete draft to publish to the public for comment. I personally am frustrated that we're hung up on this, but I'll find a solution as quickly as I can. Recreation Department, right now, the things that I'm most actively working with them on are the expansion of Trail Camp, and we've been talking very actively about that basketball and pickleball project. Trails Committee, again, I'm in a holding pattern with Trainwreck Park until the CT Deep paperwork is signed. Other than that, I'm sort of checking in with Delpha over in Putnam and Elaine and Bruce Fitzback for when they are ready to join together on some kind of partnership grant, probably to the TAP program, to close the gap between Thompson and Putnam, which I believe is the last major remaining gap. Putnam would be the lead on that, but the partnership would definitely strengthen that application. And then the last two things here, as you know, I am the town's representative to the Eastern Region Tourism District. An ongoing thorn in the side of everybody in the Northeast corner is that the entire region has been called, since time immemorial, Mystic Country, implying that we are all a giant seaside community. And we finally, after a couple of years of very animated discussion, have broken the region into 3 destination names. Mystic Country will actually be Mystic Country, Mystic and its immediate surroundings. A second destination will be designated Greater Norwich, New London. And then the third destination, which is actually the major portion of the region, everything from Voluntown up to Thompson over to Willimantic. I forget where the southwestern corner ends up being, but regardless, it's about half the district, will be renamed Scenic Northeast. The challenge then to the district is now how to flow those designations out into the marketing collateral, but that is a huge step forward for all of us who have said, look, if you keep calling us Mystic Country, nobody's going to understand, the specific tourism assets that are up here in this forested and valleyed area as opposed to the seaside. So that was a big step forward. And Charlie Tracy from Pomfret deserves a huge shout out for really taking the lead on that. And then the last thing is we are developing some one sheets to give to the Yukon School of Engineering for their senior student teams. We had a little meeting last Friday to bat around some ideas, which I've since passed up to the staff advisors. And so far they like the shape of, or at least the general ideas of coming up with an improved layout concept for the transfer station, possibly to include a municipal composting area. Having the students assist with some of the concept site work at the 630 Riverside site. And somebody brought up the idea of fish ladders. That was the sort of the poorest understood of all of them. It was just like an idea that got tossed out that everybody kind of liked. I'm trying to find out from ECCD if there's a real value to that on any of our rivers. And at that point, I'll start working up one sheets. So that's what I've got. Open to questions. And then, as I mentioned, Brian Levency is in here if you guys want to talk about that basketball pickleball court.
Thanks, Tara. You know, I wanted to ask a little bit more on the basketball pickleball court, because obviously it's been on the list of things to do is renovating that basketball court. What were we looking at for the total cost? I know that you said initially the town was only going to put 10,000 from the ARPA funds for the matching grant, and then 5,000 recreation had. So is it safe to assume it was $25,000 to repair the court and have the pickleball option as well?
I believe what we asked for from ARPA was 18,000 with a $15,000 match. EDC may be able, and we would have to discuss this in our meeting next week, I can't commit that for them, may be able to also contribute a few $1,000s to that. So we would still be in a little bit of a deficit over the full estimate that we have. But I believe that would cover the actual physical renovation. That full amount included equipment, rackets, ball stuff. So if you were running a league, you could theoretically pull in some of that. So we'd need to re-look at the math, but it's a really low dollar amount in terms of a municipal project, and a tiny portion of the ARPA. So certainly worth considering.
Well, I think it's one of those items that during COVID, and obviously the ARPA funds are a result of COVID, so many people were seeking outdoor recreation, and knowing that the basketball court has been in such disrepair for so long, and knowing that pickleball is like the thing to do now, maybe it's something that we can add to the agenda for discussion at the next meeting. So,
Brian, do you want to pop in on that at all? I can see you're still on.
Yeah, thanks. So I think, just to clarify, I think just to get the court in playable shape and including seal coating and painting lines for pickleball and basketball, I think would be a minimum of $20,000. I think $10,000 is the quote we had from the local contractor to do the initial paving or repaving, and then another $10,000 from the sports seal coat company.
Right. I was going to say, Brian, because it's not just pavement, it's more like sports surface.
Correct. Yeah. So so it will be right, like the shiny painting and a good looking, flat court that won't hold water, kind of like the court does now. So so I think just to get it playable to that extent would be about $20,000. In our grant request, we included upgrades to the fencing around the area, since we'll be adding pickleball, we'll need fencing along both sides of the court, just so balls aren't rolling into the grass. But included some other equipment like the pickleball nets and upgrading the basketball hoops. But I think to get the project really rolling, we'd be looking I think $20,000 minimum just to get the surface playable.
And Brian, a pickleball court, you can fit 2 on a basketball court? that
No, it
size?
fit 3. So
Oh,
it's a
3,
full-size
okay.
basketball court. So it
Okay.
fit 3 courts horizontally.
Okay,
So what
Brian,
I can do is give you guys the budget that we worked out, and then you can actually see it laid out.
what were we doing for surface on that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Asphalt?
Yeah, so I think initially they lay asphalt, and then a separate company comes in, seal coats and paints.
That was one of the issues, was the asphalt and the pine trees that were along the fence line that undermined the asphalt, and that all had to be ripped up.
Yeah, I think that part of the initial, the quote we had for the asphalt was to remove some of the roots that were under and causing some of the bowing and cracking in the court near the shed.
any other questions?
That's Riverside we're talking about, not the ones up by the ball field.
Correct. It's in
Riverside
Riverside
Park.
Park.
That's
Yes.
Yep.
Right, any questions for Tara or Brian?
Terry, you did a really nice job with this report. I can tell you put a lot of time into it and I appreciate it. I like the way this one is actually set up.
Yeah,
With the grants- with-
I'll
yeah,
try
with
to
the
use
grant
that
person.
format for you. That actually helps me focus too, because I can sort of go and look in my grants folder and say what's still outstanding and just list them out in order. And then the same thing, I can look at sort of the list of committees and commissions that I act as staff advisor to or have been brought in on certain projects and just go down the line. So that it actually makes it pretty efficient for me to produce that memo for you.
Yeah, I really like this. I read it word for word.
It will make it
I mean,
easy
it made
to,
more sense to me word for word.
update that list as we go along,
Exactly, yeah,
because
yeah.
the format's there, the projects are there. This is the latest on each one.
Yep.
So yeah, and happy to take any questions before I log out on any of those. That was a pretty fast thumbnail. Amy's been a little more directly involved in some of them because we're back and forth all day, but I know you guys just see it when I get that memo to you.
Just a quick question on 65 Main. What was the funding that you received, grant funding on that project?
From the Fed,
Yes,
so $240,000 award.
and you did not have an actual quote, right?
We had a construction estimate that Brian Santos had worked up. And he actually had some of the estimators from his company come out and look at it and work that up prior to the presentation that I had given to the Turtelot Trust. And that was what I had submitted. Now, I know the question you're about to ask.
You know
Yes.
where I'm going with this. yeah.
Yes, that is pre-inflation. However, because of the structure of that building, $240,000 will get us a usable facility for this purpose, regardless, even if we have to say leave the third floor undone until some later point, right? We have some room to phase this out, expend the award, and then get it'll be a substantively renovated building regardless, but then be able to at least bring it online and use it for the purpose intended.
And the purpose intended is?
So that was pitched to the Fed as a future small business support center. Now, I have had a concept for that all along, which is that small business center, because of Thompson's particular history and location, be geared towards food system and small agricultural startups. However, my little caveat on that all along has also been, as we go through that public engagement process, what we will do as a community is determine the best way that small business center can operate. Is it just a work share facility? Is it a work share facility plus a place for the transitional students, which I think has some appeal to the Board of Ed and to the superintendent? What is the combination of assets that we can bring in, the curriculum, the programming, that will make sure that it's serving the needs that we actually have? And that's actually why I'll be submitting that secondary grant to USDA, UAIP by the end of July, because that potentially can fund that whole engagement process. But we have an in-kind partnership. Even if we don't get the grant, we can move forward with it one way or the other.
Yeah, I just was curious because I know that the trust has some limitations in how that building can be used. So the Turtle Lot Trust is still on board with this?
I haven't spoken to them since the Fed award came through. I've spoken to Amy, who is on the trust, and to Tommy, who is on the trust. I think we're feeling fairly optimistic about it. You know, they had asked me to go find a grant that would fund the renovation of the building, and lo and behold, I found one.
And I think, Tara, too, just to correct, I believe it was, you were supposed to find at least a portion of it, and they were going to contribute more, the rest. I
Well,
can't remember the exact numbers. I'd have to look back at the minutes. But you found the whole thing, so that
Yeah.
was huge.
Yeah. So it opens up a lot of possibilities that we never had before.
So one of my questions has been right along, who's going to maintain it? Once the completion of the project is done, who is going to maintain the building?
Well, I think that ultimately that is a longer series of discussions. As you know, I had a proposal. I think the trust didn't like it. So, you know, do we revisit that? Do we come up with an alternate structure? But I think that's a part of the programming discussion, right? Programming, I think, includes maintenance. So in the end, it's going to be a community and group decision from the board, from the trust, the Board of Ed. You know, we're not going to, we now have 36 months to create this program in a way that satisfies as many of us, our needs as we can get. So I don't have a final answer for you because I can't determine the final answer on my own.
That's kind of one of my concerns, though. And I know you don't have an answer, and you know it's been a concern of mine right along.
Sure, and it's a reasonable one.
Yeah, absolutely, because if it is a town-owned building. So if the burden is the financial burden is going to be on the town, I think that should be a town decision.
Yeah, we just need to work that out in a logical fashion together. That's all.
But maybe it should be a town decision before the work is done, so we're all on board as to who's going to maintain it once it's completed.
We could work through that. I guess we can make that a part of the July director's report. Try to come in with some options for us to discuss and then take to the trust. I'm just spitballing here.
I think the important thing is to go back to the trust and discuss their thoughts, because they were pivotal in moving forward with finding this grant. It was their will to see the building renovated. It wasn't unanimous, but it was still a vote within that trust. So they do hold some responsibility for the building, I believe. So I think it's a matter of going back to the trust here and talking to them. I
Happy
think that'll
to.
give us the answers we need.
Yeah, happy to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and maybe you can put together a list of what would have to be maintained
right.
and what we're currently
Well, we
doing
did-
now.
I mean, it was brought up at some of our meetings that we have town buildings that we can't maintain, and this will be added. We need a plan on how to maintain it. And again, I think we go back to the trust and see, hey, what stake are you
But
gonna have
that's
in
all of
this?
our town buildings.
Right,
You know,
agreed.
And maybe at some point, when we get a new DPW director on, we sit down with him and
Right.
say, this is a list of everything, what we got to do, how are we gonna do this? Because some of it may be as simple as just mowing the grass and plowing the snow. You know, how would you go about it?
Well, that's,
You know,
yeah,
But
things
that's
the
not the
minor
case.
part of it. I'm
Right.
thinking if the furnace, something happens, if it
Right.
needs a new roof. We have a school that we struggle to maintain. So adding another layer, adding another whole building, there's got to be a definition of how it's going to be funded to maintain it. That's my opinion. This is not what I would not have picked this project to move forward with.
I don't remember. I remember looking at the breakdown for the renovations
And
of
the
the
trust
building.
has some limitations, so.
It's still, I mean, there are votes that are taken that dictate some things. And in this case, the trust was on board. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a pretty strong vote with just a few people dissenting to move forward and see the repairs done.
But the trust doesn't own the building. So I get what you're saying.
But that's why I'm
they
saying they
wanna-
have a
they
stake
wanna-
in it. They have a stake in it now. And they should, and that needs to be defined. And I think we can get there.
Yeah, it becomes a different conversation than the last time, which was, the wholesale proposal, looking for a much larger amount of funding from the trust with a higher amount of risk, right? Because it's a larger dollar amount. Now it's a different conversation. Now it is, we have the grant for the renovation. Let us discuss this specific topic and come to a resolution, or at least to something that we can propose back to the Board of Selectmen, since it is a town-owned building, to say, this is what we think makes the most sense, and just go through that back and forth. And it may be multiple meetings between the trust and the Board of Selectmen and myself, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's a narrower focus, so it allows us to concentrate on the one problem more specifically.
Agreed.
You got your work cut out.
Yeah, I think we just need to start the discussion.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
Sure.
Any other questions for either Tira or Brian?
now, thanks again for this report.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks,
Sure.
Tara. Thanks,
And ju-
Brian.
Just one last thing. So the summer months, my Tuesdays are open. So there's no more conflict with me in the gym until September. So I certainly can plan on coming in the first Tuesday in July to make it exactly 1 month later. The first Tuesday in August, however, is my birthday and I will be
Oh.
on vacation. So for that month, I would say I'll probably be in on the 16th.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Right. Okay, that leads us to agenda item 15, other business. Is there any other business to bring before the board tonight? Okay. All right, and we are on to agenda item 16, and this time I will start with the virtual audience. Any citizen comments from the virtual audience? Feel free to unmute yourself, state your name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, yes, my name is Logan Taylor. I live at 961 Thompson Road. Just to give you a little background about who I am. I've been involved in emergency services for the past 16 years. I've served as the Director of Operations for the town of Moosup and Plainfield, and I'm currently the Administrator for North Stonington Ambulance. I think it would be wise for the board to reach out to Putnam Dispatch and get an exact number of days that the Putnam crew or the Thompson crew responded into Putnam, because there are several rumors out there that Putnam is only keeping an ambulance in Thompson to keep the contract. That is very concerning. I have family members here in Thompson and I have family members in Putnam. I would like to know how the Thompson EMTs or Thompson EMS is being represented on the Putnam Ambulance Board. I feel like it should be a 50-50 split in that the town of Thompson should be represented because this is our loved ones' lives that could be at stake here in the matter of moments. I know that staffing is hard at this point in time. I know at this point in time that Putnam, as you just said, has 7 full-time staff members. It was not defined if they were EMTs or EMRs or just drivers. I know, for instance, that I have 6 full-time staff and 20 per diems, and I can barely cover my schedule. So it is unrealistic to think that one organization is going to be able to cover both towns. I think it would be foolish if we did not support an in-town organization starting and becoming a nonprofit as Thompson EMS as a backup, because 180 days is not a long period of time to secure an ambulance now that Putnam is using, along with all the equipment. There is 501c3 paperwork that needs to be established, Medicare and Medicaid paperwork that would need to be established. A billing company would have to be established. I think 180 days is great as a backup for us, but at the same time, if Putnam is to give us 180 days, that does not guarantee us 180 days of an ambulance in service in our town. And I do believe that is it.
Okay, thank you, Logan.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? State your name and address, please.
Sally White, 308 East Thompson Road.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the comments that Logan made. That really needs to be addressed. It sounds like a very loose situation out there that is on the verge of disaster. And I'm surprised that this hasn't been more closely followed and addressed. So I really appreciate that analysis and those suggestions. That was very important. I'm curious about your executive session. I'd like to know, as would all of the interested people in town that take an active interest, where on Riverside Drive is this land? Is it open land, or is it a building, or both? I mean, just 0 Riverside Drive, I have no idea where that is.
How much can we disclose with the
I don't know,
executive
it's
session?
executive session, so I don't know that.
I'll comment on that right now. We talked about this open meeting on July 6th. About this,
Oh, last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not an executive session. There was, when we got to it, I was going to discuss that.
Right. Well, it's executive
It is.
session because it's a contract now that's being proposed. But you're right, on July 6th, we did talk about it. This aspect of it is executive session though, and that was confirmed because Ken Slater went through the contract and did say that it had to be executive session because of the details of it. Because you're in negotiations now.
Amy, I'm not asking about the negotiation. I'm asking about where the property is. I have a few other questions.
What did
All
we-
of the other surrounding information should be disclosed.
It just said,
Where is it?
Land Townley 0 Riverside Drive, discussion and possible action.
Well, that's
That's
what it
the
says.
Just
now.
give me what's a landmark nearby so I can picture it.
And,
The old Knights of Columbus building. It's an open plot
I
of
can't remember
land.
if we did, I thought we did that executive session, so.
That one we didn't, we just
We didn't?
discussed whether or not we might want to move
Okay,
forward.
Okay.
But this is the first time we have a contract that's been proposed by the party and reviewed by the town attorney.
Okay.
So
there-
it's
So is
open.
that, does that answer your question, Sally?
It's open land, it's not a building.
How many acres are we talking?
It's just a portion of, I think it's 20 acres.
The current, it's 14.5
Yeah.
acres.
Okay, thank you. Then, yes, and Suzanne, I that reminds me, I want to speak to the Turtle Lot building on Main Street, but so is this a commercial or a private entity that is interested in leasing it?
It's it's commercial.
Okay. And was this made public that the land was available for lease?
No, we were approached.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, that's fine. I'm just wondering what the protocol, the ethics on that are. If you're going into negotiations for a lease, might it not have made sense to see if there are other parties that may have wanted to lease it and maybe you could get a better deal? Could this not be competed? Is this going to be like sole source to someone? And no one else has that opportunity? Maybe there are other commercial entities.
I guess we could advertise to see if anybody else would be interested, but
That's not helping local business.
and you're right, Suzanne, the intention is
The
to
intention is
potentially
to-
assist a local business with thriving and being successful. Economic development.
Okay, that's great. And if it directly impacts a local one that would give them a boost, that's great. if it's a situation where it's something that has to do with proximity, then that would be understandable. But I'm just wondering if there are other businesses in town that it might have been fair to have given an opportunity, but not knowing the details, I don't know that, but I'm just wondering if, I'm just hoping that it wouldn't cause any hard feelings with other businesses in the long run. All right, thank you for that. So when you come out of the meeting, you're going to then share your decision.
If there is.
If there's a decision.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I appreciated Suzanne's comments about the Turtle Lot building, in that it really looks like the town, that is all the townspeople, really aren't part of this. And the Turtle Lots, having read the deed and what other associated agreement, it's been years now, but I know that the Turtle Lots left it to the town. They didn't leave it to planning and development. They didn't leave it to economic development. They left it to the town. So it would seem that the most suitable thing would be to have a well-organized public hearing that presents all of the aspects. And to kick it off is a public hearing where all of the townspeople can go. And then as it moves along, then there might need to be a town meeting, because it was left to the town, not to a specific committee. And a comment was made that it was the town can't take care of the building, but the town, different administrations through the years have neglected it. It could have been, buildings like that are built like battleships, and with a minimum of maintenance, that building could last forever and you wouldn't have to put a bunch of money into it. It has been neglected to the point of disgrace through a number of years. And it's really a shame that it's gotten to that point. The other thing that I think people should consider, it was said that about focusing on some of the agricultural entrepreneurs in town, which is good, but has anybody polled all of the other businesses in town as to how it might help them? When I was on the Economic Development Commission as chairman, we had a number of machinists, we had a number of manufacturers. Have they been invited? Have they been visited with to see what their sense of the best use of this building is? I don't think that we should have one entity in town that just kind of maneuvers it into agriculture. That shouldn't be ignored. I'm all for that. But we have to get the town involved here, and it is the town's responsibility to take care of it. And I think that I'm wondering if have the three of you read the deed and the agreement recently? I mean, I'd like to reread it again.
I haven't read it recently.
I haven't read it recently. It's been a while.
It has been a
Same
while,
here.
but I think there is restrictions into how it's used, but I also think it was a 99-year trust or that oversaw it, and it may have, you would know more about this, wouldn't you?
That was under, I think, Larry Grove's
Oh, okay.
administration back then, but that was with Bill St. Ange. And because of the 100 years or whatever it was, they created that whole
Yeah.
ownership and funding and renovations.
And who was actually responsible for and
Yeah.
what it could be used for and that.
And
kind of
that's when I read all those documents, because that's when I was
Yes.
on the board. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate you bringing people back to the fact that it is a town building, Suzanne. Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome, and I will continue to do that.
And just another thing, just so you don't feel neglected from the townspeople, and this one in particular, the animal control fundraiser. I'm curious about that. And what will so the purpose is to collect funds, as they say, not material things. I mean, this is not like dropping off a bag of dog food up at the pound. So what would that money go towards? And it has to be accounted for because it's coming into a town entity. It can't just be collected and be off budget and unaccounted for. Actually, it should come into the general fund and then be appropriated as there is a need. I
I can double check, but from my understanding through the state ACO, who I will call again tomorrow in regard to it, any donations have to go that are made to the animal control department go into what's termed the dog fund. It's an account that, dog tags, a portion of those proceeds go into it year after year, and then there's specific things it can be used for. The care of animals, vet bills, updates to the building, that sort of thing that are directly related to the animals. It can't go towards electricity. It can't go towards the salary of the ACO. It has to be actually directly impacting the animals.
And it
So-
also cannot go into the general fund. It has to
Right.
go, because it's donations, it has to go directly into what we call the dog fund.
Okay, I guess I'm just thinking that there's got to be an accounting of it, and whatever is collected that day, there should be a neutral party that counts that money, and there needs to be paperwork that goes to
It
you
all
all.
goes through our finance director.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they manage that whole account.
Very good. Okay, I think that's about it. Thank you very much. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Thank you.
Bye, Sally.
Okay, virtual audience. Any citizen comments? Please unmute yourself, state your name and address. Okay, I'm seeing none. We will move to the live audience. Any citizen comments? Please state your name and address and come up to the mic to speak.
Dave Clark, 105 Elm Road. First off, I want to thank you for the appointment to the Recreation Commission. Now that I'm on two commissions in town, and being a person who's been known to occasionally get into trouble, and having been a public school teacher for 18 years, I went up to the town website to look for a code of ethics for the town and found none. And hope there's one someplace, but I couldn't find it on the webpage.
Okay.
And in searching for it, I found an Ethics Commission archival last time in 2017 or something, but I found in the boards of commissions and stuff, there's no ethics committee listed. So I was just curious on both of those. And so if there is a code of ethics, if I could get a copy of that before I get into trouble. So thank you for that. And the other one is just a point of clarification regarding Juneteenth, because it bothers me that I was 63 or 64 years old the first time I ever heard of Juneteenth. I should have known about this in school. It's not the emancipation of the slaves. That happened 3 years earlier at the end of the Civil War. Texas did not free their slaves. Go figure, Texas would do something like that.
That's the connection with Texas then.
Yes, the
Galveston,
connection
I
with
think.
Texas is that federal troops actually had to march into Texas to free the slaves in Texas. So June 19th was the day that the last slave was freed 3 years after the Civil. I think it's 3 years after the Civil War ended. And that's an important
Absolutely. Thank you.
point to understand. And again, I wish I wasn't 63 when I knew that. I wish I had learned that, in the 4th or 5th grade, along with Tulsa and a whole bunch of other things that I'm just learning about now. But so, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Sally would like to speak again. I guess I'm feeling my oats tonight. But I too had considered speaking about Juneteenth. Fortunately, because I lived in the South for a very long time, I've known about Juneteenth since the 1970s. I had a lot of friends from Texas and they informed me about it and they were very proud of it. And Juneteenth, I believe, actually happened in June of 1865. Of course, Appomattox was in April. And it was because word really hadn't filtered down into Texas. I don't know for sure whether or not they were dragging their feet or not, but they did send an Army unit down there to formally announce it. But the actual ending wasn't until the 13th Amendment. And the Emancipation Proclamation actually was only applied to the Confederate states. The border states and the Northerners that owned slaves, they didn't fall under the Emancipation Proclamation. And Texas has been celebrating it since the 1860s. So it's interesting that the federal government, Connecticut, just caught up with it. It's always been a big deal down in Texas. So just in case, just throw that in there. But I've spent time in Texas. I've had a lot of Texas friends, and they're very proud of that. And they, as I say, they've been celebrating it for a long time. So I just didn't want you to go home and have a bad taste in your mouth about Texans. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Live audience.
Yes, tonight is a history night.
Yeah.
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. I've got a couple of points and I recognize that it's late in the evening. So as I was listening to some of the votes this evening, I was surprised, and it's not to imply at all that I disagree with the decisions that were made. But there were no discussions around costs on the two votes. On Juneteenth, there weren't any discussion at all, no questions asked about what the cost was to the town of that decision. Doesn't make the decision wrong. I just think it's something that should be in the forefront of everyone's mind at any time you make a decision. And the other one was on the car wash, and that's probably, I'll be punny, a wash, because if they were already authorized to do it at the school, then the water and the costs associated with the water was an expense that the town would have incurred in one pocket or another, but it felt like I was expecting that to be part of the discussion. So I guess I'd like to hear in the future more discussions in decisions with a relationship to cost. And then my second item is going to be harder for me to talk about. And it's a history lesson. So a number of citizens, not me, have used the terms words matter in the discussions that go on in town. And you may have noticed that I left the room when Ms. Goldsmith exited, and I left because I wanted to speak to her. I wanted to apologize to her because I think she was caught off guard. She in fact was caught off guard because she told me she believes it was a town error that caused her to misspeak tonight. Words matter. It's very important as a town that our townspeople and people that are representing us in town honor and respect our history as citizens in the town. One of the items that has bothered me for a really long time is that we've taken to referring to an area of town where a significant accident happened. We refer to it as a joke. We refer to it as Trainwreck Park. And the respectful term is the Great East Thompson Trainwreck. And I brought it up in town meetings and I've been ignored. So that's one set of words that are important, but the other one, and we brought it up here at this meeting, we brought it up at P&Z, and I recognize that it is a difficult concept to understand, but it's very personal to me. And I really think that each person in town, all of us are guilty of taking shortcuts in the way we refer to places in town or businesses in town, things like that. And we take shortcuts naturally. It's easy to do. But I think when we're referring to businesses or historical places in town, we need to use the proper names. And the Thompson Speedway is the proper name for the racetrack that is currently running in town. They have two other entities that have different names that should be referred to by their legal names. The folks that own those entities have agreed not to use the term Thompson Raceway in any other way because they have acknowledged and recognized the pain associated with referring to their entities as a Thompson Raceway, when in fact that was a completely separate, unrelated entity that made Thompson go on the map worldwide. And so please understand that the reason why there was an outburst when Ms. Goldsmith gave her report was because of that distinction in the entities, and that Ms. Goldsmith said she's going to investigate this tomorrow because the reason she made the mistake is because the town printed incorrect names on the slips she was given. And I would request that the town be very careful about what names they use on the printed materials and that they get the business entity name. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more citizen comments in the live audience? Any more virtual?
Sally White.
Okay.
I appreciate that the village of East Thompson was brought up and the fact that we had a very active and productive and important railroad going through here. One in which my great-grandfather used to travel from East Thompson to go to the legislative session in Hartford when he was a state senator. Many generations of my family have used that train station, go to Boston, go to New York, go across country. And many of my ancestors witnessed the collision there. And I'd appreciate it if both of you would get off your damn phones when I'm speaking. That includes Suzanne. You're on town time now in front of the people that elected you. This is so inappropriate and disrespectful. It's unbelievable. You get a short time to hear from the
Do
citizens.
you want to finish your statement? It is getting late.
Suzanne, you are out of order to brush off a taxpayer in town when you have been misbehaving.
Sally?
I will
I'm an
continue.
adult.
If you will shut your mouth, I will continue. This is outrageous.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Sally, that's inappropriate. You know that as well as I do. I can think and look at my phone at the same time. If
But
you
you
would
can't-
like to continue,
But
go
you
ahead.
cannot listen.
Sally, go ahead.
I have not been able to speak to this outrageous thing that's going on in East Thompson in the village that has happened around the collision of the trains. That was a calamity. And it is treated like it's a theme park, an amusement park, by people who have no idea of the history there, no idea of the commerce and the transportation of people and all of the life events that went on around there. And by golly, if that place is actually named by somebody Trainwreck Park, you might actually have a lawsuit on your hands. And I've heard that there are t-shirts out there that I can't even say what happened, what is on there. I've been thinking for months about composing something to this effect. But I think you all need to keep an eye on the various committees and people in town and what they're up to and rein them in. Because what has happened in the village of East Thompson is unspeakable to many, many people. And it's got to be a huge headache for the neighbors and the abutters there. It's very difficult to speak about. Very, very difficult. I have to avert my eyes when I go by there. Trains were running when I was a young girl. And we've got family footage of when the tracks were pulled up. My father said they'll rue the day that they pulled up those tracks. But don't ever let me see you guys using your phones again. That is absolutely disgraceful. Good night.
All right. thanks.
I'm very sorry, Sally. That was the first time that I picked it up, except for when Jan had messaged me, so I do apologize for that.
If you have some family emergency, I totally
Sally,
understand.
just so you know, I use my phone quite often to look in my email to check to see what has been sent to me. I use it to read the notes that I have received. It is not just for me to play on my phone. It is my little computer that I carry with me everywhere I go. Sometimes it's usually relevant to the meeting that I'm in.
And it's appropriate to read your emails and messages when a citizen is talking?
It was, yes.
Okay, we're gonna move forward. Any other citizen comments at this time? All right, hearing and seeing none. We will move on to tax refunds, which there are none.
Woo.
Great.
So I would make a motion that the three selectmen at this time at 9:05 PM move into executive session.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of moving to executive session at 9:05 PM, say aye.
I
Aye.
can bring that in.
At this time, I'll pause the recording. Okay, we have come out of executive session. It is 9:23 PM with no action taken at this time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Ken, second from Suzanne. Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and it's 9:24 PM. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.